Okay.
Right. Greetings, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Dreamscapes. Today we have our friend Anna Julia here. I forgot to ask where in the world you are, if that's okay.
I'm from California.
Okay, from California. Wonderful. And she's here to share a dream with us. So as per my usual process, I'm just going to sit quietly and listen while she gives me as much as she can remember. And then we'll go from there. So anytime you're ready.
Okay, so I had like a 4-part dream, if this makes sense. So first I was like in a room. My dad has a business, so I work with him instead of getting an actual job. And I was in his house, and I was arguing with his new wife, and something about how my dad shouldn't be taking care of me because he should be taking care of her. And then it skipped to this image of 2 guys who were on stingrays in this clear water, and we could control the stingrays consciously. They kind of knew where we wanted to go, and all of a sudden there was I was in one of the guys' bodies, and sharks were surrounding me. So the stingray wasn't. I couldn't control the stingray anymore. It was bringing me closer to the sharks, and so what I did was, well, I'm in a dream. This is when I realized I was in a dream. I can control it. So I ended up going down to the bottom of the ocean and pushing myself back up, and I flew back in the air because I pushed myself, and then onto shore. And then dream cut, and then I was on the strip of the beach. It was a very thin beach, so it's like water was surrounding it on both sides. It was like 5 feet apart, the water. And I was with my family, and the water was super clear. I remember it clearer than Hawaii's water. And I saw my family, and I was like, oh crap, look at that big wave. There's going to be a tsunami, And there's tsunamis going from both sides. And I was like, I'm going to escape. They'll probably survive, They'll catch up. And the water is hitting me. And I'm like, well, if I try running from the water, I'm going to get consumed anyways. So just jump in the water, and swim through it. And then I end up going through this cave. And as I was reaching into the cave, there was this TV, like a little box TV, the ones that are really small and are really heavy. And there was Jesus with a buzz cut, and he was reaching out to me, and I was like, wait, because I'm agnostic, so I was like, wait, why is Jesus here? I don't really believe in that. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna survive, so I'm gonna reach in anyway. And then I'm in this cave, and I see all my family, and everybody's wearing very pastel dresses, and it was very formal because I think it was subconsciously how my family represents themselves to people. They're always dressed up nice and stuff like that. So then it was that, and then it cut to this beachside mall, and it had these weird tiles that you'd see at in a bowling alley or an arcade. They were purple or blue, and that really stood out to me. And the mall was very weird looking. The stairs from the beach went up into the mall, and there was this big wave, and I was holding my cousin. He's 3, but in the dream he was a baby. He's a lot smaller, so I was carrying him, and so I was running with my sister and my aunt, the parent of my cousin, and we were running, and I was holding him. She wouldn't hold her son for some reason, and then as we're running from the wave, I see this little baby on the floor that was abandoned. So I told my sister, pick up the baby because I can't pick it up, and she refused to pick it up. And so I was like, here's Legend. That's my cousin's name, and I'll grab the baby. So we ended up doing that. And then all of a sudden in my dream, we switched children, So then my cousin's back in my arms, and I got really tired carrying him. So I was like, Legend, let's play tag. So I ended up chasing him so I can get him to run, so he wouldn't think anything's wrong. So I did that, and then For some reason, I ran in front of the big crowd and I was like, everybody, be calm, we can get through this. And everybody was like, yeah, screaming and whatever. And then we got far enough to this hot topic for some reason. I was seeing like the K-pop and the anime stuff in the front, and I see everybody who's like survived and like got there. I see my mom and I'm like, "Hi, mom. I see you survived. Did anybody else survive?" And then she was like, "I'm not sure yet." So that was the summary of my dream. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And then that's kind of the last thing you remember before you woke up.
Yeah.
Okay. We got a lot of stuff. I wrote as fast as I could. And so we've been through it once. You just telling what you could remember. We drew out a few extra details in kind of a second pass. And before I get on to making any suggestions of my own, I like to ask people during that process, did anything specific stand out to you like, oh, this is important? Or did you make any connections? Just you're kind of free to say whatever.
No, not that I know of. Or maybe I had one, but I forgot.
I think you did interject a little bit with some details, but I didn't want to take the opportunity to kind of focus in. I mean, but that is another way of phrasing the question. Is there any specific element of the dream that seems like it has something meaningful, but you don't know? Like, does any part of the dream stand out as more important than the others?
Well, maybe the standing in the cave while they were socializing and I was off to the side.
Yeah.
I think that one's kind of accurate, like to real life.
Another kind of one-to-one connection there of like actually in your real life, you feel, I don't want to say you feel, but you have had the experience of they all seem to be kibitzing and doing their thing and they're very relaxed and comfortable and that's where they want to be. And you are where you want to be, which is kind of off to the side. You don't want to be in the middle of it. You're just there, but you're not engaged.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if that could be related to the idea of when you're standing on the peninsula and your family's there and you tell them, hey, there's a wave coming, and they don't do anything right away. They don't respond to you. They don't follow your lead. And you're like, I got to take care of myself. So you're separating yourself again?
Yeah, because I don't remember specifically seeing them. I just was standing.
Yeah. No, I think what was most important was the feeling that they were with you, that you tried to warn them, but that you don't know whether or not they listened, but you're like, whether you're coming with me or not, I got to go. I got to take care of me. I think that was maybe, when you think of those two separate parts of the dream, but having maybe a similar theme, does anything come to mind?
I just think that like that relates to how I've just never felt connected to my family in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait 1 second.
Sure. Here, I'll do another commercial for Folgers coffee. It's delicious.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's connected to like how I just don't like connect with my family in any way.
Yeah. In your experience, maybe to phrase it another way, other members of your family seem closer to each other than you are to them individually or as a group?
Yeah, I think they're more of a group. All of them are really interconnected, and then I'm just like they're off to the side.
Yeah, and the most important part would be, is that where you're comfortable? Is that where you want to be? Or do you wish you were more connected?
Yeah. I want to be completely disconnected. That's
okay.
Kind of my idea.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, no judgment there. It's like me, and I've spoken about this before, but it's new to you. So I love my alone time. I can spend hours, weeks, months alone. I love my family. I see them, like my parents once every 3 months. My wife, we say hello and then we go do our own thing for like 12 hours and we'll come back and talk later for 5 minutes. And that's where we're comfortable. There's some people who are like, aren't you lonely? I'm like, nah, that's my comfort zone. So in terms of that is you do your dream seems to be expressing that as well. This idea of separation, again, one-to-one, consistent with your real life, is I'm kind of doing my own thing. That's my comfort zone. They are more interconnected than I care to be, and that's their comfort zone. And no one is right or wrong. Do you feel judgment from them though, of like, why don't you want to be more connected?
Yeah, actually heavily judged, not going to lie about that.
You do feel heavily judged, a lot of pressure to get
Yeah.
more intimate.
Yeah, I think that's why they were probably matching.
In the cave with the
Um,
pastels.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's why, but
Yeah. I think you also raised a very good point of the idea that they always try to present themselves very well dressed, maybe well behaved, so to speak. And again, you're seeing yourself as separate. And they're in these maybe fancy pastels suggest Easter. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, which may relate
yeah,
to. Oh, go ahead.
that like color tone, like Easter color tones.
Which might, and you can tell me if this is relevant or connects or significant at all, but the idea of being dressed up in Easter colors is like going to a religious celebration at Easter, attending, say, church for Easter Mass or something, or does it suggest that, or something connected to there?
No, I don't think so. I just think it's the color of the dresses.
It is interesting that it's not colors they typically wear. So there's typical social separation, there's typical dressing up, there's typical socializing over champagne or whatnot, but the dresses are different. I think that's trying to say something about your impression of them or your experience of them in the context of the dream. I don't know if anything comes to mind.
I wouldn't describe them as like pastel people, but I mean, let me think.
Yeah, it's more like the idea that they're
Um,
not pastel people, but in your dream they were in that moment in the cave after running from the tsunami, after taking Jesus's hand, which kind of led me down the dressed up for in their Sunday best for a religious service type of idea. I don't know if any of that comes together.
um, Honestly, I don't think the colors correlate because my family doesn't really go to church.
Fair enough.
Um, but I thought it was weird just that they were wearing pastel.
Yeah, and that's the only reason I've even spent a moment on it here is that there's something there because of the difference and because it felt off in the dream. Like you noticed that's not typical. That's different. Whenever that happens in a dream, it's like there's something there. There's a reason why it would appear differently, and you would notice it as something different amidst all this other normal or typical experience. So we can come back to it. Maybe we never figure it out. I don't want to spend an hour trying to figure out why pastels. So yeah, that kind of thing. I think it is maybe now would be a good time to just kind of ask you if you understand the origin of past tsunami dreams, what kind of character development you went through that you think resolved that to make those dreams decrease. Is it okay to get into that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, basically, my character development, like, I was going through a lot of emotional issues, I guess, like unsolved, like, emotional problems, I guess. Like, they were done and over with, but I didn't actually get over them.
Yeah.
So I kind of, like, faced them and was like, okay, I see this, and this is how I'm feeling now, but what can I do to change that? And in my past tsunami dreams, I was always with my dad and his wife and then her kids. I'm completely cool with her kids. We bond a lot, and it was with them.
Mm.
And I'd always get hit in the head or like avoid the water. And if I was near the water, it was too close where I know I wouldn't survive in any circumstance.
Yeah.
But now the water was far enough, I guess. Not in the first cut of the tsunami, but the second cut, where I was able to survive.
Okay. So you what is a tsunami in dreams just in general? And these things mean different things to anybody, but it is a form of, say, in the category of overwhelming natural disaster. This is a giant wall of water. Depending on how big it is, how close it is, how fast it's coming, it's a disaster waiting to happen that you can't avoid. So there's this sense of, and the same goes with like dreams of falling from a great height. As the ground's coming, you can't stop gravity. It's this unavoidable catastrophe is about to impact you against your will. You can't get away from it. That's kind of the theme of, say, natural disasters in that context. So in the past, it felt like you had problems that were going to impact you, like literally, like as a tsunami would impact you and wash over you, and you couldn't get away from them. And you said you kind of dealt with it. You turned around and confronted it, and that actually made the tsunami dreams stop. Was it related to past traumatic experiences that happened to you versus mistakes you made, so to speak?
Yeah, there are more of things that happened to me. I didn't cause the issues to happen.
Yeah, that would have been my guess too, because that's the external origin of that would be represented by a giant natural disaster just swamping you. It's like, what am I going to do? This is happening. Do you remember? I don't want to get too personal, too specific. Maybe you don't mind, but I'm not trying to pry. The idea of what you had to change about your life, what you had to do differently to address those issues and move on from them. What change of course or new attitude did you take on that made the tsunami dreams stop, in your opinion?
I just think that like I addressed the person because I wrote them a letter.
Okay.
About the stuff that they'd done because the person was my dad. So
okay.
Because some of the problem was like on his wife, and I was like, you know what? She may have instigated the problem, but you went with it. Okay. So I don't blame her. I still dislike her.
Fair enough.
But like, I don't blame her for the complete situation. Because this whole time I had been blaming her and thought my dad was like being manipulated and stuff like that. I was like, no, you are grown. You can think for yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So I wrote that in the letter, like, you know what? I'm trying to move on, but just know that you're not going to have the same bond that you thought you did before because I'm not the same person that you can manipulate to like put it on somebody else because my dad's very manipulative.
Oh.
So, yeah, I wrote the letter and I think after that the dream stopped.
Okay. Yeah, there's something very powerful in doing that. Not only what do I think and what do I feel and putting it on paper, but then giving it to that person and saying, now you know what's inside me. Now you know what I think, what I feel, and I've said it. That's very something powerful. I can imagine that would stop dreams. I think it's also related to the idea that this dream started coming back from work with your dad, confronting the issue with the stepmother and her objection to him giving you things, time, money. And then he doesn't appear in the dream after that, like at all, like anywhere, right?
Yeah.
There was just that experience.
He doesn't appear.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you make anything of that in general? Just the idea that there he was in the beginning. It all started with this struggle related to something you and your dad were doing or some contentious issue related to your dad, and then tsunami again and the rest of your family and all this other complications.
I just thought of something. So it cut to the stingrays or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm thinking my dad is the stingray and me trying telepathically because he still hasn't improved. I'm going to be honest. Like, no character development on his part.
He's got some learning to do.
So I think that may potentially, like, he's the stingray, and that's why I was trying to connect with him. And it wasn't working, so I was like, you know what? I'm out. I'm going to jump into the ocean.
Dad, you're carrying me towards sharks. Dad? Nothing, right?
Yeah. Because he already knows, like, I don't have love for him anymore because I think it'd be toxic to love somebody who treats me that way. So maybe that's why I kind of jumped off and was like, you know what?
Yeah.
No thanks,
Well, it's
Stingray.
definitely a sign of strength in terms of uh, I'm not going to be carried in a direction I don't want to go. If I can't get through to you that this is not working, I'm out. And that's also seems very, very related to how your real life is of like, I'm not going to maintain this connection at all costs to myself. If it's not working, I'll back off. I'll try something else. Maybe we can fix it later. Maybe we never can. But the idea that you're not just going to suffer to be carried into sharks by a stingray you can't communicate with, I think there's something powerful there.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the purpose of having two boys, having you see them, and then suddenly you jump inside one. I don't know what that imagery is. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that at all. I don't know if that there is something interesting of, it wasn't two girls. It wasn't a boy and a girl. It was two boys. They were kind of surfer dudes. Maybe that's iconic of someone who should have more control in that situation, should be more competent, capable, but suddenly you jump inside one of them and it's you, not this outside view of the situation. Suddenly you're in it and now you got to respond to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if all that brings anything to mind.
Maybe like I saw it could be potentially because it started with my sister, like the emotional abuse, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe it's witnessing that. I don't know, but the person was able to control it, so maybe not.
Huh.
Um,
I haven't heard you mention having any brothers.
I don't have any brothers,
No brothers.
just sisters.
There could be something there. I mean, why do we see male or female people in our dreams? There's a lot of different levels or layers or iconic representations of things that it could be. There could be, I mean, yeah.
Oh, I just remembered something.
What's that?
His wife is blonde, and one of the guys was a blonde guy.
Okay.
So that could connect with it.
It very could. If you had a sudden sense of meaning, is she a very, I don't want to say masculine woman, but is she very like dominant in her presentation? She's very dominant is just the way I'd put it. Just more of that masculine energy of dominance, of control, of.
No, I would just
Not
say
really.
like rude stepmother vibes, but
Sure.
that's
Okay.
it.
Fair enough.
She
Yeah.
doesn't really present herself well or masculine, I would say.
Fair enough. That's fine. And it could just be that because a lot of our imagery and what is represented in our mind is based on what we've seen and how we conceptualize it. So when you talk about masculine and feminine, there's a whole lot of stereotypes in that. And sometimes it's those stereotypes that inform the imagery that we then put into a context in our dream. I was talking to someone else and there was something to do with this. And now I suddenly can't remember any of it, but it wasn't, it was something else. No, never mind. I'm going off on a tangent here. But yeah, I think that's now that you've gotten kind of a sense of those moments of, oh wait, does anything else jump into mind in the dreams? Moments when you had sudden connections where you're like, I know that seems important.
Um,
Not to put you on the spot. You do or you don't. It's okay.
Probably not.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think it is also, important that you kind of felt like you had a lucid moment. And I don't know what those feel like or what to do with them. I don't think I've ever had one. But it was like a sudden reminder that you had more control of the situation than you previously realized. And so that's
Yeah,
when you
because
jumped off.
yeah, so in like lucid dreamings, you feel more conscious. So it's kind of like, oh, yeah, this is happening, and then you do it. Kind of like like if you're eating food and then you can taste the flavor, like you can identify what's in it in a way. I don't know.
Yeah,
In that way, lucid dreams are.
fair enough. I wish I had more experience with that. I wish I can't recall ever having one, like ever. Uh,
Well, lucid dreaming takes practice, it's kind of like, because I do Wicca in a way, I do read tarot cards and stuff like that.
Sure.
So it does take practice to get lucid dreams and stuff like that.
Okay.
So
Maybe
I don't
something I've
know.
never invested much energy in. I just go to sleep because I'm tired,
Yeah.
and I don't even remember my dreams. As I spent all this hours and hours talking to people over 20 years, talking to people about their dreams, and I think I can remember two, maybe three I've had in my entire life. Uh, just that I'm sure I dream, probably. I mean, I think we all do, but remembering them, nah, not so much. Even if I wake up and I'm in the middle of one, it's gone so fast. I can't write it down. Nothing. I got nothing. So I'm very,
For me, it's memories. Sometimes I confuse dreams with actual real life because they feel like memories to me in a way. So
well,
mostly memories.
they are in a lot of ways. I mean, there's the physical structure of the brain, and once you've had a dream and you wake up from it, it then is encoded like physically in your brain as a memory, sets of neurons, patterns that fire. So literally
Yeah.
dreams are real in that sense. They are real physical structures within the brain that exist there. It's just accessing them, just like accessing any other memory. So yeah, that's a fascinating thing too. It's like you've had an actual experience while you were asleep. It just didn't happen to come through external senses like light or touch or hearing.
Yeah.
I think you just froze. Oh no, you're back. Okay. Um, and your method of escape was to jump down to the bottom or dive to the bottom and push yourself up. So whatever the methodology may not have been critical, but the idea of executing it, you did exactly what you intended. It got you out of the situation, brought you back to land. The sharks are dealt with. You're now back in control of your own destiny, except oh god, here comes another tsunami, and you gotta run again. But this time you also made the same choice of taking control. You know what? I'm not going to let this swamp me. I'm going to dive into it because that was taking control. And
Yeah.
I think you probably have a lot of water imagery and ocean. You've probably been to the ocean before. Maybe one of your favorite
Yeah.
places to go, the ocean, the beach. And you kind of know about, like, if there's a big wave, you dive into it and you come out the other side. Otherwise, it'll knock you over.
Yeah.
So my guess would be that's where that solution came from, is representing a solution to you was, remember, sometimes you got to dive into the wave to get through it. The wave's coming, but there's something you can do about it.
Yeah.
And I think it is interesting that then it took you to a cave, and this cave was like, now we're safe from tsunami. So you escaped from the sharks by your own choice. You escaped to a cave by your own choice. And then there was this transitional period of something you felt was necessary to move forward, was taking this strange representation of Jesus's hand, and that transported you to where your family was. Are they wanting you to bond with them more over a shared religious faith? Is that kind of something they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my family, my mom is fine with me being like atheist slash agnostic. Um, my aunt, however, still implies God when she's referencing to something, and I'm like, can you not do that? You know?
Oh,
So I think that because some of my family members are disrespectful to like me being agnostic, and then once I say something back, then they get offended, and then I say that's the same thing. They want me to emotionally connect with them and on a religious level,
mm-hmm.
and I just can't provide that.
Yeah. You're seeing
Yeah.
the world differently, and you don't feel like you're getting the same respect for your perspective that they're bringing to the table. That they want you to
Yeah.
respect the way they look at the world, but they're not giving you that same respect. That's kind of your experience.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wish. I mean, it's no. Maybe there's a part of you that's like, you wish you could have help in connecting with your family, even if it just brings you a little closer to where they are, into a place where they're doing their own thing and you're nearby. You're not looking to, I mean, according to the imagery in the dream, is you're not looking to jump into the social circle, be the center of attention, or engage necessarily, but you don't want to be stuck in a different part of the cave from them. And maybe part of your brain is saying, if I can figure out how to make sense of Jesus, if I could give him a buzz cut in my mind, understand him in a different way than they do, maybe I could approach their perspective in a way that allows us to have better social atmosphere in the house. I don't know if any of that's making sense.
Maybe. I
It's all very
At this moment I don't
complicated.
really know. Yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah.
Um, I think a lot of it comes down to like the social event too of their views on presenting themselves too. That's the only thing I can really connect because they're the type of people to, I guess, show off a bit and
Sure.
yeah, and do that, and I'm just not for that. So that
Yeah.
also creates the division too.
Yeah. And I said, just from looking at you here, I can tell you're someone who, as much as there's a difference, say, between caring about your appearance and not wanting to actively present yourself as a mess or slovenly or whatever. You're also not going to go that extra mile and like try and make it better than it is. You just are what you are. I mean, it's kind of like me. I comb my hair. That's as good as it gets. I put on a clean shirt, whatever. I'm not looking to suit and tie. There's a different level that goes into that, and that's just not your thing. And that's probably another source of the disconnect. What I was going to say about the religious thing is I'm actually an agnostic atheist as well, and there's a lot of people who say, "Isn't that the same thing?" And there's overlap, but to be agnostic is to be without faith, and to be atheistic is not quite the same. It's without a system, without a theology, but it also basically means that I don't know what God is or whether or not it exists, and I don't know what it wants from me, and I don't have a specific set of rules or guidebook that I'm using to approach that concept. So it kind of leaves you adrift with, I don't know what's out there. I don't even know if it's possible to know what's out there. I'm open to anything. I'll talk to anyone about anything. And it's taken me a while of like when I was younger, I used to reject religion as a very hierarchical, specific thing, and I'm like, that's not, don't try and put me in that box. That's not my thing. And I kind of came around to like the more metaphorical aspects of it, of whether or not any of it's actually real. Is some of it still true? And that was kind of my compromise with that, is like listening to some recent lecture series on stories from the Bible and hearing like, okay, those metaphors, those concepts, that's good stuff. Just like I got from the from a lot of different other philosophical texts. I just look at it as another source of kind of collected human wisdom. So there might be some compromise there you can make with them saying, I'm not inside the faith. I'm not going to believe that completely, but I see that it has some value. I see that it's important to you. That's one way to compromise with them and maybe form a deeper connection without having to join their team, so to speak. What am I trying to say? Without having to endorse their specific interpretation, just saying, I see why you believe that, and it makes sense even if I don't believe it. I don't know if any of this is resonating with you. I talk too much. Sorry.
No, it's completely fine. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I'm gonna agree somewhat, but not completely agree, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm not trying to give advice or tell you anything other than what I've done in terms of that. And some of it you may actively reject and say, that part I don't like, and that's one of the reasons I'm not in that box with you. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen that because they'll like try to imply things that I've rejected, so maybe that's why. It's like me reaching out to the mist and then it disappearing because at the end of the day, I'm never going to agree with it,
Sure.
So maybe that's why.
Yeah, that's a good way to interpret that, is like you reach out to it, and the act of reaching out brought you closer to your family, which may be just a general desire, whether you wish specifically to be closer to them in terms of identifying with their religious beliefs. You just want to be close to them at your own comfortable distance in a way that doesn't make you feel excluded or rejected. but even trying to grab onto that, saying, "Is this a way I can connect with them?" Nah, it just kind of dissipates to mist. So it doesn't really, like I can't do it that way. But just trying brought you into that other space with them.
Yeah.
Oh, I think there's something there. We haven't even gotten through like half of the rest of it. That's all the beginning. I don't mean to keep you forever, but I'm good to keep talking. I don't know if you need a break or anything.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, good deal. Just checking in. There is more imagery. Television. Moving along there. What do I got here? Yeah, because you keep getting, you're with family, you're separated from family. A disaster hits, you're with them again, and then they're gone, but then you're back on this beach in front of the mall, and you got the stairs, and there's another tsunami coming, and your response is to this time to pick up your cousin, who you've had some family dynamics issues around caring for him. So there's a part of you that in this dream felt responsibility for his safety, for his well-being, and you picked him up to run with him.
Yeah. Well, I think my thought process is kind of like, why not? If I can save them, just why not do it, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there would have to be, what is I'm trying to say? A compelling reason not to take that action, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like when you're on the strand initially and they're there, you have a sense that they're there, and you try to warn them and they do nothing. You're like, okay, in this specific type of scenario, I'm going to save myself. What are you going to do? Now the scenario is different. Now you have the opportunity to do something more, and you take that opportunity. So it's speaking to your character of a sense of obligation to family and responsibility in general. And that's, your decision to say if that's good or bad. But it's usually a good character attribute to feel like you should or would want to follow through on obligations, whatever they might be.
Yeah, I just thought like, well, it's not gonna harm me curing him.
Yeah.
I think if there was like, because if I think I went back to my family in the previous tsunami thing, I
Mm.
probably would have been like taken out into the ocean, drowned, and died. But I think in this situation, it doesn't pose a threat to take him, so I
Yeah.
can, you know?
I think that's
So,
powerful. A powerful type of a way of looking at it too, of like, well, it's not going to kill you. I might as well, literally it's not going to kill me to do this thing. I don't know.
yeah.
Have you had family members say something like that to you recently? Well, it wouldn't kill you if you did X, Y, or Z. Is that phrase?
Yeah, they say that to me all the time
Okay.
because sometimes I don't want to help them because I'm lazy.
There is that too. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. So this may be kind of just one instance of highlighting that concept in your mind of, well, they're right sometimes. If you describe yourself as lazy, that's not like I'm busy or I have my own things, or they're asking me to do things I shouldn't do. It's more like I just don't want to. Well, it's not going to kill you. Maybe part of your mind wants to make more of an effort in that regard. Not saying you should, but it's an open question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to make of the tiles, the color. Maybe you just like that pretty blue color or purple color. I think it might be.
Yeah.
I think it might be the only color you mentioned in the entire dream. So for some reason that stands out to me too. Well, you said the pastels, but you didn't mention a specific color. Just the impression that they were in pastels.
Um, yeah, maybe just since they were everywhere, that's why it stood out to me.
Yeah, that's why I clarified too that it was these kind of purple or dark blue tiles that formed the walkway. Anywhere you went, you were going to be walking on these tiles, and these tiles also formed the way to go. There's something there.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that either. But that seems significant. Anything coming to your mind?
No.
Fair enough. And it may or may not be significant that you couldn't see any of the other store logos as you were running. It may not have stood out in your mind because they were not relevant. It's like, this was not, whatever these places were, they were not your destination. They were not something you had the time to stop and see. You were on a mission, get away from this danger, take your family with you out of danger. There is something to the idea of finding well, of course it's important. It happened in the dream, finding that other child and then having to do a juggling act with your sister of responsibility, and then having it switch back again, and then negotiating that responsibility by playing a game with your cousin and getting them to run ahead of you so you could put them down because they had become a burden too heavy to carry. I don't know if any of this is bringing something to mind.
Yeah, because my cousin, he's kind of heavy, so I always like, don't carry him. But I think maybe it's just the act of like, you have to be creative to get something done. I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, I think that's a relevant thing to say too. The idea of bringing the ability of creativity to problem solving. There's this negotiating of responsibility with your sister so that you can actually take on another responsibility, like not only save the cousin that you know, but save this helpless infant that is certainly that is in danger. And it's like your brain's going one step beyond. Like, here's your look at responsibility towards your family, and here's your look at a broader concept of responsibility that might encompass other helpless things that you would feel needed to be cared for. Something there. I don't know if anything comes to mind.
Not at this moment.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm just kind of struggling with it myself too. I think there's something there your brain is processing in terms of, well, how far does this responsibility, how far does my concept of responsibility extend? And
okay.
What boundaries am I comfortable with? Something like that. What, you had a thought?
Well, I just think that my mom, since we're family, I'm responsible if one of our family members needs help, and I'm just like, well, no, I'm not going to help you just because you're family,
Fair enough.
that kind of thing.
Sure.
And yeah, but I'm willing to help other people more than them sometimes.
Interesting.
So yeah,
that's probably something you're struggling with in general, just what is an appropriate, and that's why I say boundaries. What is an appropriate level of obligation to family? What makes them deserving of my help? Sometimes you might even view strangers, strange infants, helpless, other people in dire need as literally, I guess, juggling that responsibility with other ones, handing off family responsibilities to take on other responsibilities or other things you feel obligated to do. Something in there, but still at the same time running away from danger in that context.
Yeah.
So there's something there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Then the Hot Topic thing with like
the
K-pop merch, even though I don't like BTS, but that was there, and then the anime stuff. But I think that connects to like, that has been my safe place. The music and then anime.
Yeah.
Even now still. And then once I see my family member, then I'm like, oh crap, there's danger kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of where I was going with that too, is that all of this has been a lot of situations of conflict or danger or threat involving various members of your family, you trying to save them, warn them, help them running with you in the same direction away from danger. And then at the very end of the dream, your brain says, fuck the tsunami. I want to go to Hot Topic. I'm done with all this stuff. Just take me to my safe place. Maybe part of what you're escaping from or escaping to is that sense of safety and internal peaceful, this is where I feel comfortable and happy, and there's lots of bright, pretty things to see. I get to shop for merch. All the
Yeah.
troubles and worries and dangers are outside of this place somewhere else. And then, yeah, that's when you saw your family like, oh yeah, Tsunami. It's still out there somewhere. Another one waiting to swamp me at any minute. It's kind of interrupting your peaceful calm in that scenario. Um,
Yeah.
and I think there's something too that you asked your mom. So when you see her, the thought is then again going back to the safety and responsibility towards your family. Are they okay? Am I cool here? And she's like, I don't know. She's like, I don't know if everyone's okay. So she couldn't provide you that reassurance. So you're kind of torn maybe in that moment between, do I go to my happy place or do I still have to deal with this other stuff?
Yeah. That definitely resonates, to be honest.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't want to put ideas in your head, but maybe some of this is you're struggling with how other people's expectations for you and how much you agree with that and how much you're resisting it because you think it's wrong or resisting being controlled. I wrote down rebel at one point. Do you feel like a rebel on the inside, like you're rebelling?
I think I think it's both because like I'm financially like dependent on my family, so it's not one of those situations where I can leave it just yet.
Yeah.
I'm just like waiting to leave
Yeah, you want
a
to
few
strike out
more
on your
years.
own. Yeah, get your own.
Yeah.
Get your independence. I mean, this is I don't know exactly how old you are, but mid to late teens somewhere.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that's a perfectly normal place to be in this idea of separating yourself to create an independent self. Because in the past, when you're a kid, you're just a part of this thing you don't understand. Then you realize you're a person and they're people and you're not the same thing. The thing is something you form together, and then you have to get an idea of who you are outside of that thing. And that's probably a lot of where you're stuck in here, and you're wondering, is it going to be another disaster to separate myself from this, or to, part of the disaster seems to be these constantly conflicting ideas of obligation and responsibility to family, and whose side are people on, and who's giving who a hard time about what idea or behavior. I can imagine wanting to escape from that drama. Just go to Hot Topic and buy some anime merch.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And then about my things, like my mom constantly like with anime and like K-pop, she's like, "Oh, you don't like our culture," because my mom's Middle Eastern and then my dad's white. So it's like, "Oh, you don't like your culture. You want to be East Asian, not Middle Eastern." And I'm like, "No, I
Yeah.
just like this stuff." So they're always constantly like hating on my likes and stuff like that.
Yeah. The thought just occurred to me. Have you ever, not have you ever, because that's a bad way to put it, but like, is there, I wonder, opportunity for you to say to your mom, specifically in that regard, oh, you don't want to be Middle Eastern? It's like, why would you think I don't want to be that? I mean, is that important to you, Mom? Is it important to you that we carry on something culturally, ethnically? Tell me about that. And maybe you'll get an earful, but at least in some ways that's validating her perspective, even though you might feel attacked but there's something coming from inside her where she's like, I'm seeing my daughter doing something that makes it feel like she doesn't respect who I am. Maybe I'm not phrasing that correctly, but there's some motivation from her looking down on a different choice. And if there may be some bridge building to do there in terms of asking her, well, in a non-judgmental, what am I trying to say? It's like you're being the bigger person saying, well, Mom, tell me why you feel that way. I'll just listen. What's going on? And maybe she will
Well,
respond to that. I don't know.
yeah, I've actually done that, and
Yeah.
it's because I've changed.
Yeah.
I guess since they always reference back to when I was 5, when it's like it's been 10 years. Please stop.
You know what's funny
They
is
always reference.
that when you get older like me, 10 years goes like that, and they probably still like yesterday you were 5 years old.
I was like, it's been 10 years. I'm not gonna be bubbly. Like, all little kids are bubbly. Like, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Then you develop your own character, and yeah, it's just that she doesn't respect that I'm aging. Like my sister, my older sister, is, let me just say, like, she's not independent whatsoever, emotionally at least. So she relies on my mom. She acts like the younger sister. And just my mom likes my sister to be like, I don't know how to explain it, like being a kid, but like the opposite, where the kid wants to be the baby, and even though they know that shouldn't be happening. And
Yeah.
my mom likes that about my sister, where my sister wants to act like a kid still.
Okay.
And I'm not doing that, and I think it annoys her, to be honest.
Yeah. There's something in that dynamic of your mother enjoying the feeling that her children still need her, or something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
think
you're maybe a
that's
little
what
more
I was
independent.
supposed to say. Yeah, so she
Yeah.
gets mad at me for that, and I think that, like, the disconnect back to the dream is the clothing. We have a lot of arguing about clothing because it's either me in my basketball shorts or like just random stuff. So it's a very big disconnect where she doesn't like that I'm not in her social events. I'm not conforming to what she wants me to wear.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I didn't even step close to the people in the cave, because of that.
Yeah.
Not bore me. Yeah.
Sure.
I think that the dream was just like family.
Yeah.
A family in that show.
And the return to that feeling of impending disaster, like there might be another problem coming around the corner, and it might swamp you, and but also hopeful, and in the idea that even though these problems keep coming back, you consistently throughout the dream, you did something about it. You took control. You were a more proactive problem solver in those regards. Like, here's another problem, I know what to do about it, or at least I'm going to figure out what to do. It's a more of like a growing self-confidence type of thing. You're no longer getting swamped by all these tsunamis. Now they're going to keep coming. They always do in life, but you're going to find a way to get through it or get away from it. I think that's very positive. Yeah.
I'm glad that somebody thinks that, because I was just thinking, like, maybe it's in my head, but I'm glad that somebody else said the same thing I was thinking.
Yeah, at the very least, that is what you're thinking. I mean, that's the dream. That's your brain processing these complicated dynamics, and they're complicated. And I mean, you just can't stop. To go to a biblical reference, there's always another flood coming, and you just got to decide what you're going to do about it. Are you going to build an ark, or are you going to ignore it and hope it goes away? And it might swamp you. The biblical flood is kind of like a tsunami allegory type of thing. So anyway, that's the level I appreciate those things on, not trying to convert you.
Yeah, I know.
For sure. Well, I don't need to keep you here forever. If you feel satisfied that we've explored the elements and gotten kind of a grip on what's going on, I feel good about it.
Okay, thank you for the reading.
Oh, for sure.
Not the reading, the interpretation.
It is whatever you want it to be. Usually I have folks hang out a minute afterwards so I can make sure everything's cool. You got a moment to do that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just like 2 minutes. And then I'll just stop the recording and say thanks everyone for watching another episode of Dreamscapes. Please like, share, subscribe, and that's it. Bye.